One thing that's interesting about Trump's campaign is he spoke a lot about kind of reinvesting in rural America, but a lot of the talk surrounding education kind of seems to be more centered around the urban areas. So what is, if let's say, dozens of people have been streaming through Trump Tower trying to advocate to the president-elect about just kind of different issues. Say you were to, get some FaceTime with them. What are some of the things that you would advocate for from a rural education perspective?
I would really like to talk to the president about, hey, we have choice in Oklahoma. We already have school choice in Oklahoma. Parents have the choice. They get to choose between small school. They get to choose between big school. They get to choose charter school. They get to choose private school. They can move within schools. We already have that system in Oklahoma. Don't discount the fact that rural small schools are a choice too.
If you were to, and not to be political necessarily, but if you were to get some FaceTime with the president-elect, and he's asking you, Nathan, what's life like in your classroom? What are some needs that you have? What are some things we can do to make your life and your community better? What were some needs?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, in this district, it's not even necessarily funding. We're very well taken care of. We have 3 pieces of technology for each kid, so that's wonderful.
So we have access to a lot of things that I think a lot of rural schools don't have. I mean, we spend a lot of money in this program, and we're funded through the Career Tech, so we also do get a lot of equipment. I mean, this is an $11,000 machine, so a lot of schools don't get to have that kind of stuff. So being part of the Career Tech program allows that. Having a superintendent that supports your program allows that. So I do think in a rural school it's hard to justify this equipment and these sort of things because, they're focused on passing tests and doing this kind of thing. Our school kind of buys into that, so we support that. And
I think as a teacher, more than anything, we would hope that he would appoint leadership that valued publicly maybe educators and the education, public education specifically. I think that's kind of a concern that a lot of us have is are the people maybe that are appointed that are a little bit not so pro public education. So for a teacher, as far as in the classroom itself, I think the thing that we battle more than anything is just the public perception of public educators, and not necessarily. It doesn't affect us necessarily at this district financially, but it's more of just the way that they see us as educators.
Are there any things that you're either concerned about or just kind of in a wait and see mode about the new administration as it relates to education that you think could impact a community like this?
Well, one of the things that was really good for all schools, in my opinion, was that ESSA, that Every Student Succeed Act, was actually passed last legislative session, and that was really driven by a Republican majority in both the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House. So being that has already happened at the federal level under Republican ideals and majority, I don't think that there's going to be that big of an impact towards Oklahoma because of an administration change. I don't see any major policy changes or anything coming down from the federal government that's going to have that big of an impact on local schools.
To be honest with you, I mean, one of the things I think that we battle more than anything in this rural district is poverty. I mean, we deal with the oil field, so that means that we have families that do well for a bit, and then the oil field sort of crashes, and then we deal with families that struggle, that are searching for something else to do. But I'll be honest with you, I mean, I could teach at a large school district, but I love the small communities. This school is the anchor, it's the backbone of the community. So that would be the only thing I could think would be a limitation to the small community, is just the lack of jobs in the rural communities. Farming's not what it was, so.
It's not necessarily the wide open spaces that brought you here.
No, not necessarily. No, it's not. So yeah, not a lot of challenges in a rural area. This is where I want to be. So yeah, not many.
you know, a lot of times I think people look at an urban school system and they think about, you know, various social issues, issues like poverty. But those things exist here in a rural community. Sometimes don't get thought of. Kind of just talk to me about what is the social and kind of economic makeup of a town like this.
84% of our students qualify for free introduced lunch. So we have you know, our diversity comes more economic than it does in any other kind of area. But even within that demographic area, we're talking about a broad band of poverty. We've got kids that are in systematic poverty, and versus kids who are just you know, their parents might not you might not think of them as impoverished, but their parents have 3 jobs. They're to make ends meet. Or mom and dad both work, and they both work multiple jobs, and they're just living from paycheck to paycheck. And what's really scary is we know through parent involvement and community involvement and good resources, we can overcome those negative effects of poverty. Unfortunately, because of our current economic situation and the funding situation with Oklahoma schools, those resources have been eliminated. It's really difficult because we know we can make a difference. We know we can make a positive impact on the lives of these kids. We just need help and to provide resources so we can overcome that problem.
This is our CNC router, so it allows us to basically carve out of wood or any material that we decide to use. We kind of have this as our mini shop back here. We do a little bit of everything. We have our 3D printing, which we do a little bit of fabrication and manufacturing for our younger kids. And then we have our laser engraver that allows us to do acrylic, glass, wood, basically anything that we want engraved. So mostly the high school kids do that. This is more of the middle school age kids do their manufacturing back here.
What do you call this class?
This is STEM, but we do pre-engineering basically, so we start in 7th grade. We do some labs with our 6th graders, but mostly 7th through 12th grade.
We know with the Trump administration is going to come some lowering or lessening of some regulations in the oil and gas industry. We know that Trump is viewed, perception of him as he is a very pro-business oriented government official. So we've seen the stock market tick up. We've seen the price of oil tick up. People in the energy sector in Oklahoma are anticipating some decreasing in of some EPA regulations, and so those companies are getting geared up to start expanding their operations, which means they're hiring people. And when they hire people, those companies spend more money to get ready. So we're going to see an increase in sales tax. We're going to see an increase in property tax and ad valorem taxes, which is going to help the state of Oklahoma in a direct way and help schools in Oklahoma all across the state.